Hey everybody, this is Dark Guards, and we're back with part 3 of the RAWR drone thing. So I had an idea of what we're going to do with these, and I'm going to try to make these videos as short as possible so somebody can come in, look at a single part, and understand how to do a single thing when it comes to working on their own entities or whatever. So for this one, as we said, we're going to work on the AIs to get the AIs going so we have just enough of the AI tasks so we can do rendering. So what I'm thinking for this video is we're going to do the follow task. We're going to go ahead and get the AI programmed up so they can follow around whoever placed the entity. Now this means we are going to need a few things. We are going to need to know who the owner is, who placed it, and that's about it. We'll just have to make an AI task after that and just kind of dig into it. Now I don't have a lot of this memorized off the top of my head, so we're going to do some guessing, so this video may not be as short as I want it to be, but we'll figure it out from there. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and reference some Minecraft code here, just to refresh my memory to see kind of what we want to go ahead and look at. So the wolf is a good place to look at for any type of entity you want to have that will follow some kind of leader creature, in this case a player, and attack the same target and do whatever. So the AI's got a lot of different tasks in here. Of course, we're going to want to put a swim task, or actually we're not going to put a swim task, we're going to let our drone float to the bottom of the ocean. So it's not too big of a deal. We are going to want to make the AI avoid certain things, so we're going to make sure it doesn't fall off the edge and everything else. But this is the one we want for the follow. Now this one works pretty straightforward, is that you have the entity, who's the host. You then have the owner entity. It does pass a lot of stuff in. We don't have to store this on the AI task. We're probably going to store this on the entity and reference it from the entity. So we'll have just this in here, and then we'll reference this off of the entity object. Follow speed, we probably do want to set that. This one, I think we can reference that, because that's just going to, yeah, it's just going to grab it off that. I don't know why they store a lot of stuff in here. You can just reference it from the other thing. I don't actually remember how the mutex bits work. We'll probably set this the same as this, just because that should, in theory, work. Everything else in here, yeah, to be honest, for everything else in here, should for the most part work. We are going to want to make sure we should be following. That's just something we would definitely want to do. Set look position with entity. I don't think we want to do this part. We don't want the drone to ever stare at the player. This is the reason for this, is you're basically having a thing with a minigun staring at you, so we don't want to have that happen. So we're not going to want to do that. So we want the rest of this. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to go ahead and go and grab all this stuff, hit Control-C, copy it, and we're going to go ahead and make a package for our AI. So we're going to go ahead and do this, package AI. Go through it in here, and hopefully it'll copy the whole class, and we'll hit no on this. I don't know why it keeps asking. I don't like using the Git plugin here. The only reason I have it installed is that there's another plugin I need that has it. So we'll want to extend our AI base. That's the only way we're going to get stuff added. That's just going to make us do some basic stuff. And then after that, we just want to kind of gut some stuff out here. So I don't care about this stuff because we know exactly what we're going to be applying this entity to. We do want follow speed. So to be honest, even the follow speed stuff, we'll probably just instantiate in here. Because we're not going to have a tameable. What we're going to end up having is this is going to be entity RAWR. That's what this will be. And we're going to call this host, because that's my normal habit is like to call host of whatever something we're doing. And we're going to pass it in here. So this will be entity RAWR. So I know this one I probably should be showing you guys how to do this from the ground up, but I just feel like just showing you how to take a piece of code and modify it should be good enough, and I'll explain what we do as we go through here. We're going to probably just start referencing the world off of the actual object here. See, the weird thing is, they store the owner here, and they still retrieve it down here. This is weird. This is something weird you'll see with the Minecraft code a lot. This has to probably do a lot more with the Pathfinder, because they're probably, yeah, they're feeding it down to the Pathfinder here. But honestly, I'm going to go ahead and just retrieve that information from the entity. So let's go ahead and close a few of these too while we're at it. The only thing we want to do for this episode is get the entity to follow. So you want to store an owner in here, and we're going to store a few variables, because we're going to need a couple variables to make this work. So we're going to want to have an actual entity player, but then we want to have a string username. Now the reason why we have the username, because I know some people will almost immediately point this out, is even though we're going to use a UID as well to reference it, the string username backup is kind of useful. It does help. It also helps you identify stuff, so when you're looking at like actual information, you don't have to go, who the hell is that UID? You can just go, oh, that's tied to that. So we're going to have that. That's going to be saved, which I got to get the save methods. This will be like right These would be right entity and NBP. That's already. I think we can't actually. There's a separate method I think we have to use. Nope, this may actually be it. This is another thing I don't really like about extending entity living sometimes is that you get a lot of this stuff right here. Held item, armor drop chance. You get a lot of the stuff that gets saved, and you don't really use a lot of it. A lot of entities just flat out do not use a ton of this information here. So it feels very wasteful. But we need to make sure we have some read and write code, so make sure we also do super for this, so that way we save all the stuff anyways. There's a possibility we may try to take advantage of some of that stuff, because what we could do for our upgrade system, instead of having our own unique storage for the upgrades, we can say, you know what, let's actually have, so this is not actually the method I wanted to have. We can, like I was saying though, instead of actually having our own system for our upgrades and everything, we can exploit the existing item storage. We can go, hey, you have so many points of armor storage or something, and we go ahead and use that the same way, or recycle the code is what I'm basically trying to say. It's read from, not to. Yeah, so I was just not paying attention while I was typing in. So we have these two methods. We're going to want to save the UID, and basically what to do, go ahead if username doesn't equal null, then we just do compound.set tag, and we're going to store these at the top. So this is something, if you ever end up getting into working on mods long term, I recommend getting in the habit of storing your string keys in an actual thing. Prefix it with MBT, and then just do something like this. And this is you just type it like that, because the reason for doing this is A, it makes your code a lot easier to read, and then B, somebody can come up here and they can find all your tags and know what tags you have without having to read your code. It also means that you're going to have a much easier time. This is actually needs to be set during that set tag. And we'll do the same thing here. UUIDs are a little bit different how they're saved. You have to set the long keys and everything else. We'll go ahead and get this set up too. And we'll go ahead and do UUID. And this one, we will set this in the tag. So we'll go ahead. I think there's a way we can... Is there like an MBT utility? There's the MBT utils. You can write a game profile. You can get a UUID from tag, so there should be a create UUID from tag. Or create UUID tag. There we go. So that's what I want. So that way I don't have to do work. I used to do this the hard way, which is what you would pass. Because we'll look at this. This is how basic it does it. Is it saves a most significant bit and least significant bit, and then you have to turn that back into it down here, into a UUID. So I did this a lot by hand. It's good that there's a utility for this now, so that's really nice. That's probably been there for a while too, and I just have never noticed. And then of course you want to make sure we're using our tag here. So MBT underscore UUID. And that gets our stuff written, so that writes it. And then in the read, we just do it in reverse. So we just go if compound.hasKey. You don't even, to be honest, need to do hasKey sometimes, but we are going to have to do it for the UUID one, or that will cause an error. At least I think it will cause an error. They might have changed how a lot of stuff works. So if you hear me say something and it doesn't sound right, just ignore me. This one would be username equals compound.getString. MBT username. So that'll retrieve our string name, so we know who our owner is. And we'll definitely probably end up using this username for a lot of stuff. We'll use it to display who the owner of the thing is. So if we end up adding like Wayla support or something, which has that tag when you overlay, we'll go ahead and do that. Or maybe even just do it in the display name. There's a way you can change the display name on entity in runtime, and we'll say like this is say Dark's drone, and that way you know who it belongs to. So we'll do this as well. If compound.hasKey MBT UUID. And there's a way you can also do with this one is you can also, I believe, you can specify the type, which then will allow you to say, okay, I want to see if you have a key and I want to see if it's a double key or if it's a long key or something. This is actually really useful if you want to make sure your code is resilient against bugs. We're not going to worry about it though, because this is, it's not going to be an issue. Mainly it's not going to be an issue is because if it indeed loads that is errored out, it doesn't usually crash the game usually in here, at least not all the time. It just will delete the entity half the time. At least that's how it should work. I have seen some bugs escape that. And this will be compound.getCompoundTag UUID. So that'll create our UID, so it gets that saved and load. So we have that. We could synchronize this information to the client too, using additional spawn information, which we could do, but I'm not going to do because we don't necessarily need that. We will need it probably for well support if we do that, so we'll have to come back in here. Now when it comes to the actual task here, which, you know, I should have left the wolf open, because I just realized I wanted to check where it's supposed to go. So that's supposed to go here. It goes in the task group. That was what I was trying to check. So there's two different task groups, and I get them confused sometimes. I really shouldn't get them confused because one's for attacking, one is not for attacking. And what we'll probably do... Oh, they hunt rabbits. I did not know that. I knew they hunted sheep because that's what they originally hunted, but rabbits is kind of cool. And they automatically attack skeletons. That's cool. I need to read through the code. I haven't looked at a lot of the code after 1.7. Anyways, we need to mess with this, so we need to actually go back to do this in here. I'm going to move all this code a little further down. You really want your main logic stuff to be at the top, and you want your data accessors to be other places. Alright, small interruption there. Okay, so yeah, move stuff here. So you usually want to put all of your logic stuff at the top, and you want to put all of your data saving, all of your accessors near the bottom down here, because it's usually stuff you don't want to be, you don't mess with it a lot, so it's nicer to have it in a different spot. So you got all this. What else are we missing here? So that's gonna call init ID. So we use an init ID to do all the attributes. Let me look at the wolf. Yeah, so this has apply attributes, which I think is done. I'm trying to check where this stuff is done so I can make sure I'm not going to mess. So apply attributes is its own thing. So we got that. So what am I using this for? Because I have an entity AI here. So this is where we're going to do our AI stuff. Oh well, let's go back to what we're doing. So go ahead and make a public entity player get owner. So you want to get owner method, and this one's going to be pretty simple. It's like if do we have it? What do we call it up here? We called it player. I'm going to change this to owner, and I'm going to go ahead and refactor these two. I just realized that's actually probably something important to specify that these are belong to the same object. And go ahead and we want to make sure we ignore comments so it doesn't change our comments. If you're not careful when you're refactoring and you don't do that ignore comment section, it will refactor stuff that does not belong to this class. If we actually open this up, see, yeah, it's trying to refactor our UUID down there, and we don't want that to happen, so we want to exclude that. I need to find a way to do that by default on my own stuff, but yeah. So I'm going to go if owner equals null, or owner that get profile. Should be wait, get game profile equals null. The profile should never be null, but I do a null check here anyways, just because it's nice. And we want to get the ID, and we just want to make sure if the ID doesn't equal the owner's ID, we want to basically try to get the owner again. Definitely want to do first. We want to make sure the owner is set to null. In case these two options get hit, we want to reset our current option, and then we want to go ahead and return owner down here. But we also want to try to find the owner. I'm trying to think of how to do this too. This is like, yeah, I actually don't, so I do Minecraft server, but I don't think the Minecraft server is something that's accessible at all times. So Minecraft server. Let's just see if there's a way I can just get a player directly from this. And you know what? We have the wolf here. How does the wolf do it? Yeah, so we're trying to go through them backwards way, and I'm like, you know what? The wolf actually knows who its owner is, so it must at some point in here understand how to get its owner. And it's probably in Tameable. It's probably where this is at. So I'm looking in the wrong class file for this, but I just want to go to the bottom, and yeah, there's nothing there. So it's probably in Tameable. And it's probably not even stored. It's probably some kind of... That's probably why they cache it in the AIs. It's probably an actual thing. So here's... They also sync it via the data manager, the UUID, which we'll probably end up doing. And here's the get owner. So this is world.getPlayer by UUID. So that's what we want right here. is this little section here. That's cool that you can get it from the world, so we don't have to mess with the server thing. So we want to do owner, and you know what? Let me check this method real quick. It automatically returns null, so we don't even need to do this part right here. So we can get rid of that. Now this one will be, we go ahead and do the owner ID. So that'll set our owner ID, and we just do validation checks here to make sure if the owner is valid, and we just reset the instance. So that way we're not holding on to bad instances of things. I kind of want to do a dead check here. So let's do one more check. Owner.isDead. Because if our owner instance is dead, we're going to want to reset our variable. That's just to make sure we're not messing up. That should work to get our owner. So that way we can just grab it from there. So we got our get owner check here. Get rid of reset task. I don't really want to reset the task. And let's make a method in here as well. So why don't let's get some added overrides in here. So there's a lot of these methods are from the superclass, some of them aren't, and I need to figure out which ones are which. So add override's a good way to do that. So we're overriding these. That one's overrided. That one should be overrided as well. This one is probably not. That's the teleport task. It's the one that kind of keeps the entity nearby you. We'll go ahead. We'll keep this as well. We'll probably change that later. We'll probably make it if you're not paying attention to drone and stuff. Okay, we want to make another method here. Public boolean should follow owner. And we're going to return true on this. We'll implement this logic here later. So this will be when we do the sitting logic or patrolling logic. The reason I'm doing that is I can just put that right there, and then I can have more complicated behavior that is not purely dependent on a whole bunch of stuff. To be honest, it's not the cleanest way to do it, but I don't really care. Okay, so the return true by default. So we'll just get rid of that, clean it up just a little bit. So if our owner is null, our owner is almost always going to be an instance of player. So we basically want to go ahead and say, hey, if you're in spectator mode, which this should be entity player. Because our owner is almost always going to be player. We're not going to make the drones follow anybody other than player right now. We may change that behavior in the future, but right now that's fine. So you want to go, hey, if you're in spectator mode, we're not going to follow you. So we're going to do should follow. This is literally just going to be a check to see if it's stationary or if it's in patrol mode. There'll be like 3 modes for the drone. And then this is, we need to put this down here again. And then this is just going to be .get. I have a better idea how to do this one. Nah, we'll do it this way. What I was thinking in my head real quick is that what if we really quickly coded that to be... Oh, that's going to null out too. We're not careful. Yeah, we'll just put a really quick check here. That's why I don't really like Mojang code sometimes, is it's a bit weird. There's some checks that are missing. So we want to be like, hey, if we have an owner, keep following. If we have a path, if we have an owner, if we're not too far from the owner, so there's like a distance check, and if we should follow owner. So that's there. Get path priority. We're going to probably have to change this. This is going to be to do change to avoid water because we don't want this to... We really don't want the entity to travel through water. I think it's how we do this too. And you know what? We're going to probably set this in the entity itself. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. Get rid of that because we don't really care about the old cost. We want the entity to never go in the water because it'll die. So we're going to go ahead and do this. And we're going to do a set water cost. I think we'll set this to like -10 or something like that. How's this work? Let's see what we got value set wise. So blazes, yeah, so you just set to a negative value and you basically say that's you just don't go there. Okay, that should work. And this again is going to be, so I think I was saying is I want to make another method here, so do like a protected entity player get owner. That way I can then do this .host .get owner. So I'm not typing in the whole mess every time I want to get the player. Instead I can just do that. Because we're going to need to reference it quite a bit throughout the code. And we probably should cache this, but that's fine. It won't be that big of a deal. You're not going to have that many of these entities in the world to start with. If somebody does, it's their fault. Should follow owner. This code should work. The only thing we're missing right now is we got to register this to the entity. So we're going to have in the AI task, we have to do this.tasks.add, and we'll set this to like priority 6 because we're going to have some higher priority stuff in here. And then we new entity AI follow owner, and we have some inputs here. So follow speed, distance, everything else. Let's go ahead and open up entity wolf again and see because we kind of do want it to behave like a wolf. That is the inevitable goal of this, is we want to have a very simplistic entity that just happens to have a machine gun on top of it. We'll then come in here later when we have more sophisticated code to work with, mainly the army mod, and then we'll add better stuff to it. So follow owner, yeah, so they do this. This will be a good distance check and everything. I'll do the distance follow a little higher, so we'll do 15 instead. And we're gonna keep it a little further from the owner because we don't want it to be too close because it will shoot the owner. And of course we need to pass this up. So that does everything there. This code is a mess, in my opinion, but we'll come through here and we'll redo a lot of this later. So instead of private, and these need to be like private final. These are settings on the AI. Follow speed in, so that'd be follow speed. See, like a lot of this stuff is final. I don't know why that wasn't. And the way you want to also order your stuff is all the final stuff should be up above all of your non-final stuff. And then you should try to organize stuff in an understandable way. So like all your objects next to each other, all your data next to each other. I don't know why that has a double, but it's not that big of a deal. And then of course teleport friendly. This code is messy. This is all the teleport stuff. We'll leave these checks here because we don't want to have that. This actually triggers pathing logic. That's what that does. And of course we said we don't want it to point at the owner. Yeah, let's make another method here. So I'm going to make a protected method. Protected void move to teleport to player. Because this entire section of code right here is teleporting. So we want to make sure we separate that out. That makes the code A easier to read, B, then I know what the world this stuff is doing. Yeah, this is... refactor this stuff. I'm going to change this to XYZ, even though IJK is the same thing. Depends on what you're doing and stuff, but you'll see both of them. Then... call this DX. That's DY, so... Oh, this is Z. Derp. Change that to Z. Change that to Y. Move that to there so I don't do that, make that mistake again. Change that back to Z. There we go, and this will be our DZ. So I'm just trying to get some code documentation here so it's easier to read. We're reverse engineering. So what this is doing is this is finding basically positions nearby the player, around the player to try to teleport to. And then what it does is it basically just teleports. So this is the actual... Actually, where's this code called? So yeah, this reset Pathfinder. Aim towards player, which you really don't want to do, but whatever. In this case, teleporting, it's a fine. And this is what it actually does, the teleportation. So we're going to move this next line and do teleport. Find safe teleport location. Yeah, so that works. And we probably can merge these two into each other, but that's a big deal. So that task should do what it's supposed to do. And we've got it registered. The last thing we want to do is on our actual item, when we spawn the entity, we're going to want to set the owner. So entity.set. Yeah, we'll just make a method called setOwner, and I'm going to pass the player in. And then we'll add some extra methods maybe in another video of what do you do when the entity's already been spawned but has no owner. Which is usually what I end up doing is I just go whoever touches it first becomes the owner. So this will be this dot username. Owner username equals player dot get game profile, get name. This dot owner UUID equals player dot get game profile dot get ID. That'll set it, that'll get everything working, so that way when we place the item, we should be able to do that. Let's go ahead and test that code. Then the next task we'll probably do in the next video is we'll go ahead and set up the attack code. Because once we get the attack code going, then the episode after that we can start doing the animation for the head. Because that will be pretty straightforward. We'll just set the head rotation and we'll... Because once you get attacking, we'll be able to aim at the entity we're attacking. And we'll probably program it to shoot arrows to start with. Because that'll be a good starting point. Arrows, we already know work. We just have to make sure the angles and everything are set up properly. And we should be able to fire them. Plus, I think it'll be kind of amusing. Oh, we have a bug. Get owner. So what we also want to do here is if doesn't equal null. So what it tried to just do is the Pathfinder just tried to access its owner and it didn't have the information and it failed. So we want to do that. That's what I get for not making a flowchart. But none of this is planned. This is all improvised. This is on the spot stuff. If this was planned, these episodes would be like, I don't know, 10 minutes long each. So yeah, next episode probably be attack code. Then get the rendering after that. And once we get that done, then we just start getting into like just more polish basically. Because once you get to the point where you can attack and it can follow you, you have a functional drone, attack drone. You just then need after that actually make it shoot bullets, give it an inventory, give it some more sophisticated AI code so it isn't being dumb about how it's behaving. Try to improve the pathfinding a little bit, try to improve the attack logic so that way it understands where it should be. I don't think we'll get too deep into some of that stuff just because it does take a lot of time to get really polished AI logic working. But I'll get you guys most of the basics. So we'll definitely do NAD inventories. We'll definitely do energy on an NAD. We'll get slots working. So we got a little drone here. Of course, this guy is not owned, so he's not going to do anything. This guy is, though. So this guy should be following me. So let me go ahead and... Not that. That's the wrong window. I also clicked the ring. I think this is going to be a pain. So let's go ahead and figure out what we're going to do here. So, one, I need to kill these real quick. So you should not have any HP. They should go down pretty fast. Okay. Then we're going to get one placed so I can go ahead and look at how its AI is functioning. So you want to take a look at this. Oh, this needs to, that's probably what exactly broke right there. Should follow. Can you follow me now? Nope. Go ahead and put a brake line here. Skip over. Is spectator? No. Should follow owner? No. Get distance. Less than min distance, so... Too close? Okay, we definitely shouldn't be too close now. I don't even have Discord open. It could be should continue executing and it's not working properly. Because that's going to be a max distance check. I think this needs to be inverted. Because if we get an update task on here, we know that it's supposed to be working. Skinner doesn't even know. What did we set our Pathfinder distance to? 15. Oh, we got it inverted. That could cause problems. That's not going to fix it though, because that's... So we need to spawn another one. There we go, that started executing, which means that code should run now. Should is the keyword. Is the AI even capable of moving? Okay, this is inverted. That's what I get for copy and pasting code, by the way. There we go, it's moving. So we got that accomplished. It's a little confused on how to move, but I mean, that's Minecraft AIs for you. Okay, so something I'm noticing with this, see the wolf code had that aim code in it. I think that aim code actually does serve a purpose. It does actually help with how the Pathfinder behaves. Which I didn't think it did, but you know, a lot of times I am wrong on this stuff. And we want to put this only in here. And we're going to change this to host. Get owner. And then host. That will change in real time. There we go. That actually is improving how it's behaving. Of course, we need to get some animation going on this, but for the most part, it's behaving properly now. And he's going to go through the grass. He's going to run into the tree because... What is with the mojang Pathfinder system? I never understood this, but this is not uncommon for something like this to happen. in the world? See if it'll teleport to me. Oh, it's pathing to me. So, like, once I get a certain distance away, it seems to path okay. Does the wolf do this? Where's the wolf at? I want to compare. Because if it happens to the wolf as well, and as well as my stuff, then I know that's just the Mojang Pathfinder's being weird. And I might have to make my own Pathfinder. So, we'll go ahead and place a wolf. Okay, so I'm going to want you to follow me. And we'll see which one you pass better. Did you just get stuck in the grass? Yeah, your wolf tells me everything I need to know about the Mojang Pathfinder. What in the world? So I get a distance away. It seems to comprehend it can get to places. The rover seems to be doing just as well. I mean, after all, they're both should be using the same code. The rover shouldn't be going in the water, though. Yeah, see, it's going to get confused. That's what it's going to do. That's good. The dog jumped in the water, though. It teleported to me. You didn't. Oh, there it goes. Teleported. I mean, for the most part, it's working. It's just, I really do think I'm going to have to code a unique Pathfinder for this. I think it's having some difficulties. Go ahead and do F3B. I don't think it's the size doing it. I'll tweak with it, but we'll go ahead and end the episode here, and I'll see you guys for the next one.